Okay, I am back and I am ready and I'm only 5 minutes late. How about that? 5 minutes good? Um, okay, so we're actually going to start chapter 6 today. And let me first start by pulling up chapter 6. And this is the one we're actually going to be dividing. Hot Riding Hood. Okay, so let's see what we got here. I actually do have some previous pages that deal with the werewolves and Red. Um, and that goes here. Let's think for a second. I just got a stupid. What did I get the text for? Oh, prescription. Okay, I got a prescription at my blood pressure meds. Okay, so let's begin this particular chapter. Chapter 6, Red Riding Hood. Within the boundaries of the Gnome Kingdom, Max finds Scarlet Red Clover and pulls her out of hiding. Max asks Red to go and conscript the werewolves from their village into his service due to her history with them. Of course, her history is not so good, uh, but I guess if Max wants it, she'll probably just do it anyways. Red goes to the werewolf village. Red tells the werewolves led by Rottweiler that they might rid their curse if they join Max's army. Yeah, I don't know if anybody even cares, but Rottweiler still seems cringy to me because that's just a breed of dog. I mean, it kind of works sort of. Uh, Originally, our main werewolf character was Kurt, the Cowardly Werewolf. His real name was Kurt Wolf. Whenever he turned into a werewolf, or whenever he turned into a wolf, he was a complete coward, complete opposite of what normally happens when somebody's bitten by a wolf. But I was having too many good guys, so I decided to change him into kind of a generic bad guy, really. I actually have a couple different villainous wolves here, but it all concerns their story. It's not the main one. Kurt is still kind of the main bad guy, sort of. Uh, let's see. Red tells the werewolves Kurt, Rottweiler's second in command, leaves the werewolf village after remembering Red and Violet's rivalry. Kurt then travels to Fairy God College to meet with Violet. Violet agrees to help Kurt become the leader of the pack if Kurt eliminates Red. Okay, so we got this little love triangle going on here, and Violet wants to get rid of Red, and so she, uh, instead of having to look for an opportunity or having to find a way to eliminate her, this kind of falls in her lap because Kurt, Kurt's second in command, and he wants to take over the wolf pack. In World Village, they tell Red they want proof of the curse being lifted. She leaves, brings back Max back to the village, who promptly gets rid of the curse for a few of them. The world was let by Rottweiler throw Red into a hut and discuss, and then Kurt comes back to the village. The werewolves debate, join Max's army, and eventually agree, and then bring Red back out. Red goes back to Max's mind, tells him the news, and Kurt and a lot of the other werewolves start grumbling. Max arrives at the administration castle aboard a transport train. Max and his techs activate the machine for the first time. The machine he's been working on, which I probably need to find a way of showing the machine. We only know about the machine slightly from the we only know about this machine slightly from the plans that the princess managed to grab, or haven't managed to grab yet, according to the way the story's going. But is going to grab. Well, actually, she did grab the deals. She still has to take them out, but that's all right. Anyways, um, yeah. Actually, this is fine. I was figuring I'd have to do it earlier. This is should can be the first introduction to the actual machine here. The midpoint of the story is supposed to be when they all figure out what Max is doing, but the way I had to rearrange stuff, that's not it's not gonna fit cleanly fit into like 3 act structure or whatever, probably from here on out. But I'll be able to tweak it as time goes on. We'll see. Okay, extra hours of administration castle aboard the transport train as text activate. Okay. Now, the only thing is I need to find out well actually what I need to do is I need to check out my old version of the game because there are some things that I've already done, which will indicate to me where I'm supposed to put some of the stuff. So there'll actually be some old rooms and stuff, pages or whatever. Okay, so let's go do that first. I have these open here. Werewolf Village. Here, let's open the Werewolf Village. Let's open these Werewolf Village ones here. Open with text editor. I want to see if they're the same. Red goes to the Werewolf Village. Okay. Okay, so let me let's go to here. Pulls. Find scholar. Pulls are out of hiding. Uh that'd be gnome that'd be one of the Gnome Kingdom ones, wouldn't it? Oh, maybe I should just open the here. Let's open a deal. Enchanted Lands, Phase, Folder Projects. And then I'll find okay. This I bet I don't have old ones. I bet okay. I guess it kind of makes sense. Um you're at home, picks John. John there's the magic words. Chester. Yeah, okay. Okay. I wonder if I can well random villages too. 3. Beer God College, Scarborough Fair Chicken, Grand Gen Land and Wine Cellar, Grand Gen Scarborough Fair Chicken 1, the boundaries of the Gnome Kingdom. Max finds Scarlet Red Clipper and pulls her out of hiding. Okay, that's actually Gnome King. What's Gnome Kingdom? The first one. Okay. I don't think we've met Roland yet here on the thing here. I don't think we've gotten that far here, at least in the redone story. And uh, where okay, where is Gnome Kingdom 1? Okay, that's up there. Gnome Kingdom 1, then Werewolf Village. Right. Random Villages, which is Zanzibar. Max Mines. There's that. Hebrew. Yeah, up until this point, you've been playing good guys. Now we got bad guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with as though we were playing the villains too. So the villains are gonna have. I guess we will be playing the villains. How about that? Finds finds one, two. Laps with Edge, Laps with Grand Chandelian, Laps with Gnome Kingdom, Scarborough Fair Chicken 2, Laps with 3, World Village 2, Best in the Belfry, Best in the Belfry, Nestor Cave. So I guess I am wrong. I guess. And what was the last location? The Princess Prep office is not the last location. Last location is going to be let me see here. It's going to be before 40 something. That's 15. That's 16. So Princess Prep was 16, and so basically, uh, older projects. Here we go. So 16. So anything before 16 are old pages. That's all of these ones. Anything after 16. Let's see something here though. Eastgate, East Depot, World Village Road, Princess Prep. Okay, so John's further questions. That was earlier. Wizard U, that was earlier. Trophy Room, that was earlier. Princess Prep, that is earlier. Anything with the Princess Prep stuff. Random Villages Ground and Max Flying Train. Okay, so from here on out, I don't use any of these old pages from here on out. So I'll be making up stuff out of whole cloth. Well, not really, but sort of. Uh, okay, so this is the old version, right? Yeah, right. Max Flying Train and a Villages Ground and a Villages. All right, we will. What is the Random Villages one? Zanzibar. All right, so I can just go ahead and close this too. And I think all we want is Gnome Kingdom. Gnome Kingdom 1 or is it Gnome Kingdom? Oh. What am I thinking? Okay, I'm just thinking wrong. So now we're just completely on our own. Okay, so this. All right. So what I need to do is, see, I still don't really have a process for doing this. This is kind of the problem here. It's not just to think of the logical part. In this part, I have to find good places that you might put decisions points into, and I have to decide if I want to keep all of these as separate. Are these separate pages, separate titles, or are they um, are they can they be combined? Well, I know that this can be combined, right? Because uh, so what I can do here is I can do this, and there's nothing here to do that's there's Yeah, there's nothing that can go in here that can be a decision point here. He finds red, unless that's part of the deal. Part of the deal can be him finding her. Um, but I'll leave that just because that's not really the concern, is pulling her out. So we'll see here. Okay. All right. Okay. She's a fire mage, huh? No, she's not a fire mage. It's actually almost literally Red Riding Hood, but yeah, he is. In fact, I'm streaming, steaming, street, streaming. It's got a text from my brother. Half hour early. I hate using the stupid touch keyboard. Okay, so a big deal here is that I need to find places for actual decision points to occur. Now, like I said, there might be a thing where there's a puzzle or there's a thing that where Max goes and finds red here, but we will go on and we'll see if. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. What we'll do here is we'll combine this with that because this is where they're first in the dealie. No, maybe not. Maybe. Uh, this is separate, right? Because it's a separate scene. Let's see. Red tells the world that they might be rid of their curse if they join Max's army. Okay. So Kurt Rottweiler, second in command, leaves the World Village after remembering Red and Violet's rivalry. Kurt then travels to Fairy God College to meet with Violet. Violet agrees to help Kurt become the leader of the pack if Kurt eliminates Red. Okay. In the Werewolf Village, they tell Red they want proof of the curse being lifted. She leaves and brings back Max to the village, who promptly gets rid of the curse for a few of them. The werewolves, led by Rottweiler, throw Red into a hut and discuss, and then Kurt comes back to the village. Werewolves debate joining Max's army, eventually agree, and then bring Red out. Red goes back to Max's mines and tells the news. Uh, okay, so there's a little hole in here, and that is she goes back to the mines to tell Max, but if he's already there, she doesn't need to go back. Why don't I rename that to Red leaves to go back to the mines and Max. Okay, Red Max go back to the mines. Let's see. Transport train, transport train. Let me think about that for a second. There's got to be a depot now. See, it's something I didn't think about, right? Because you go on vacation, you get into a flying train hits through the castle, you check in, you take another flying train down to the surface. So the train down the surface has got to land on, it's got to land at a depot on the surface, and Max would go to the surface. Mine entrance, mine entrance. Yeah, I have a weird logistical issue going on here, which I haven't really come out with yet. At some point, Hubert managed to rescue them by crashing the train into the side of the mountain where the caves are, and that I still have to figure out if they're side by side or up and down. You know, northwest or north south or east west. I still have to figure that one out. The dwarf mines entrances in the north in the mountains in the north. So I would always figure that um, Lapswood is south. Lapswood, the Gnome Kingdom's underneath that, and the gnomes have a secret entrance out of that's in Lapswood that they go in and out of. Max is going to need a. Where's Lapswood? Lapswood to the left. He's going to need to go by the depot, anyways. The um, Renaissance Depot. To the Air Depot. As Max boards the train. I don't know what Red is doing at this time. I don't know if she's going to be with him or if she's going to return to the mines or if she's going to stay there at the village. I don't remember. I'll have to worry about that when I get to the second part of the werewolf stuff. Okay. All right. So the question is, where do I put the where do I put the decision points? So it's not going to be here. This is going to be your first page. It's going to directly lead to this page because he leaves the werewolf village. Um, we can potentially do something in here. I don't know where specifically, but something to do with the deal in there. Um, tell werewolf village to tell Red she means, and then Kurt comes back to the village. This looks like more like a straight up cutscene thing. I don't know. I'm not really sure if I mean, it could do a flavor thing here, but the meeting. Okay, this is where I'm gonna use the AI. Select all, copy. Okay, we're going to go ahead and I'm gonna save it and save room data, and then we are going to okay, starting chapter 6. and I'm trying to determine if there are spots to have decision points in, or should it just essentially be like a cutscene, single page description. Here is the current chapter 6 story beats. And well, maybe light reaction choice at most. Here's why. No player facing agency yet. None of these characters are playable now. And nothing the player chooses logically. Domino chapter. Every beat causes the next beat. It's setup, betrayal, escalation, and reveal that high information density. You're introducing motivations, alliances, and machines, and the machine's first activation, stopping for decisions, risk breaking momentum. Meanwhile, elsewhere chapter. Reaction style choices, not plot altering ones. Good candidates after Red pitches the curse lifting deal. During the werewolves debate, while Red is locked up, player chooses which argument they should focus on. During Max's machine activation, player reacts purely tonal. These do not change events, they change how the scene is framed. Where you should not put decisions, whether Red goes, whether the werewolves agree, whether Kurt betrays, and whether the machine activates. Yeah, that's true. Those are all load-bearing plat beams. Touch one and the ceiling collapses. Okay. Treated as a single-page cinematic chapter. Optionally include one reaction choice near the end. Then hard cut to continue. This keeps pacing tight. Signals the player big things happened. You weren't supposed to stop them. This is exactly the vibe you want here. Okay. So even though the events play out like I intend them to, what if you're actually able to play the villains? Play the villains. Does this still stay a cut scene? Arguably, how do I say it? Arguably is not really the right word I'm looking for. If you're, let's see, actually able to play the villains, does still say a cutscene? Even with playable villains, is a canonical history moment. Think of it like this is how things went down, not this is where the player expresses themselves. Even if Max, Red, or Kurt become playable later, this functions as fixed inciting escalation, a demonstration of power, a reveal of intent. These moments usually remain non-interactive by design, even in games where you later control these characters. Classic examples without naming titles. You play the villain, but the first big move is shown, not chosen. You gain control after the plan is in motion. The key distinction, this is important. Ask this one question. Is the purpose of this chapter to let the player express the villain? To let the player express the villain, or to show the world what the villain has already done? For chapter 6, the answer is clearly the second. That makes it expository authority, not roleplay. Timeline cement, not branching. Playable later, rewritable past. As actually helps you later. When villains become playable, you get reflection. I remember when Max first tested the machine, consequences went worse than expected. Reinterpretation, he thought this was controlled. It wasn't. All of that which works better if this chapter is locked. you're giving future gameplay something solid bounce. If you ever want to make it interactive later, you still can without changing outcomes. For example, in later phase, let the player choose how Max reacts emotionally. Let them inspect the machine while texts work. Let them overhear different conversation. But gates still open. Red still returns. Or will still join. The machine still fires. Yeah. Um. Because I'm still thinking that I'm gonna. I mean, I could just kind of like leave it sort of maybe pare it down a little bit, maybe add one decision point and call it a day. I mean, I kind of would like to do stuff like that, but at the same time, I don't know. Okay, one more try at me wanting to make it interactive doesn't mean I will, because if I wanted to, I would just do it. But um, what was I going to say though? um, let me think. Let me think. Let me think. These are supposed to be cutscenes. Um, yeah, that's kind of right though. Are there instances in any other adventure games of you literally playing the cut scene? I'm trying to um you're not changing your yeah, well that is kind of what I wanted to do as far as because not supposed to be how do I say it? I mean it's all kind of cutscenes anyways, isn't it? You know, you need to get a talisman or something, or the bad guy needs to get this kind of thing of ultimate power thing, and so he goes on an adventure, just to get it right, even though he eventually doesn't win. Uh, Hands are just on the armrest. Come on, this examples, no spoilers. Idle but required interaction. You must do something for the scene to continue, even though the outcome's fixed. Examples: click to pour the wine, pull the lever when told, walk to the exit so the dialogue can trigger, press the buttons to know you're going to press. Makes the player complicit, creates memory. Um, Sarcastic, no branching plot, just tone, environmental interaction. Cutscene happens while you can still click things, examine props over here, optional lines, trigger extra commentary, but the scene progresses on its own. Ominous machines, rooms full, or something bad's about to happen vibes. For success task, but you can't fail. Line 3 dials. They always work. Escort someone across the room. Okay. Uh, yeah. This is kind of what I was talking about. Anyways, I really uh when you get to play it, you're not affecting the outcome. I mean, honestly, if I wanted to make a game like that, I could make a game where every choice you make completely affects the outcome. It could completely make it end differently or do different things. And in that case, you could actually have a game where the villain actually wins, and if you're into that. I'm not into the whole thing of, um, bad guys essentially like winning. I'm just not really. Not even stuff like Fast and Furious and those things where uh they're criminals, but they're like kind of like the heroes and stuff. I'm not really into that sort of thing. Um, but if I wanted to make something that does that, I would make that. That's not what I'm making here. I'm making an old-fashioned adventure game, except I want the player to be able to um, inhabit the villain while he does what he does. So it's not just a mere cutscene. You're actually interacting with it, and can still totally be like that. In other words, it still can totally be I don't know. Yeah. Yes, and the witness actively let the player be maxed for exactly one page. Require them to activate the machine. Allow them to inspect the gates before firing. Choose which test happens. Yeah, that's all I meant. Yeah, realize that's fine. Okay. Okay. Can you give me examples from actual games? I don't care if they're spoilers or not. I may have played some. I may not get around to playing them. So it's all good. It's all good. Uh, the shopkeeper leaves. You're supposed to follow him. The game does not scream this at you. If you don't notice, you can stall for weeks. Ask half a Musenet. Why it matters? The cutscene creates an action opportunity. You must act during narrative motion. The game trusts the player to notice the patterns. This is your text of adventure game. This is the text of adventure game mischief. Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge, playable conversations. Example, Largo embargo scenes. Many Largo scenes are narratively fixed, but fully interactive. You choose insults, questions, pacing, outcome always the same, but the experience changes. Take away dialogue trees as cutscenes. You walk around inside. Right. And that's kind of what I'm. Day of the Tentacle. Uh, Simultaneous cutscene and gameplay. Purple tentacle escapes. The scene unfolds automatically, but you can click things. Characters comment differently. Timing matters for jokes, not plot. The event will happen. You're just allowed to poke it. Wise Clever keeps player engaged, lets the humor breathe, prevents controller down syndrome. And yeah, that's kind of the biggest deal. What they always kept saying about adventure games is to allow you to play it, right? You come to play a game. You didn't come to watch a movie or read a book. Well, uh, yes and no. Yes, the fact that it's supposed to be a game, fully interactive. I get it. But half of my reward is being able to see a cutscene, right? I actually like watching cutscenes. Um, but at the same time, I'm kind of going, instead of letting the villains just kind of be like a passive scene or whatever, why don't I make them interactive? Why don't they make it part of the experience? So that you can see the whole, you can kind of see the whole thing. It means I have to be a little bit more detailed about what the villain does, because in a book or a movie, you can kind of get away with, oh, he says something funny here, or he does something here, and you can show a little something where you don't have to focus, because your main focus is on your main characters usually. In a movie, in a cartoon, in a book, right? They don't spend as much. Sometimes they don't spend as much time on the villains because the villains are only to set up what the player does, right? Because usually it's the player's journey, and then that has to change. The villains don't have to change, right? The villains can be static static cardboard cutout kind of thing, right? So, so in most cases, you don't need a seriously long backstory. You don't need a motivation. You don't need to know the inner workings of things. You only need what the scene needs to drive the main plot forward. But here, I just want to do a thing where you get to kind of play it so that you're not having to wait too long for a cutscene. I love cutscenes. I really do. I like watching watching the deals. I hate it when people like skip over the cutscenes in some cases. I know in action games it doesn't really matter that much, but story-based games sometimes there's some information in there, and you also want to be able to skip cutscenes later on. You know, once you actually watched them once. But I always figure you shouldn't skip the cutscenes because they might have valuable information. You know, and sometimes they do. But still, people are people, and they'll play it if they want to play it, and they won't if they, they'll skip it if they can skip it, and whatever. Day of the Tentacle. Okay. Full throttle, mandatory actions inside cutscenes. Bob roll and bike sequences. These are scripted to succeed. You must punch, you must ride, you cannot lose, but you still do the thing. Relevance to your game. Sex. Yeah, the activate the machine thing will actually that it can be uh, fairly easy to actually do that. So hold on a second here. Okay. What? I already have an update. What is this libtasn 1-6 manage ASN.1 structures runtime? I have no clue what that is. I have all these weird things. Linux has all this kind of weird updates. Linux, sorry. Um, Manny's big plot revelations. Many scenes lock you in a room, play dialogue, still allow movement and examination. Sometimes you trigger the next line by walking to a spot, sometimes by interacting with an object. Stories marching forward regardless. Sam exit the road. Villain monologues. Sam and Max comment interrupt. Villain speech ends when it ends. The Walking Dead. Changeable outcomes, lightly interactive scenes. Your choices affect tone, alter dialogue. Sometimes only change who blames you later. The barn will burn. You're just choosing how guilty you feel. Life is strange. Marker interaction during negative narrative. Dormant school scenes. You can wander and inspect objects, overhear conversation, but the bell rings when the bell rings. This is a modern playable cutscene design. Um, Metal Gear Solid interactive cutscenes before it was cool. Torture scene. You must smash the button and endure the scene. You can technically fail, but the plot adapts rather than breaks. This blurred the line early. Half-Life. The no cutscenes cutscene. Everything's a cutscene. You never lose control. Scientists talk to you. Events happen. Doors lock. Explosions occur. You just stand there awkwardly holding a crowbar. Philosophy directly inspired by playable cutscenes. Inspired playable cutscenes everywhere. Uh, Later phases can you play in later phases let you play villains. Chapter 6 interactive become early villain POV. The player learns Max's mechanics before his morality. Activating the machine becomes muscle memory. Foreshadowing. Um, can you recall any examples from Sierra games mid 90s and before? Obviously, not half life as Sierra only published that. Okay. You're allowed to put things. All right, what are you new? Let's rewind. Cutscenes barely exist as a concept, but um, you're supposed to act while he's gone. The cutscene is actually the trigger window. I remember King's Quest IV having an extremely long 10-minute cutscene opening scene, and they even touted that as being 10 minutes long. Like, that was the great thing about it. Which is kind of funny because later on people are like, "Oh, I just want to get to the game. Just get to the game." Well, these narrative games, they might need a setup. I'll admit though, if you watch the King's Quest IV intro, it is a little bit long though when you think about it. But that was kind of a selling point at that day. Shipwreck opening. You control Graham while chaos unfolds. Encounters with Moriak. He monologues. You stand there. You can still walk and occasionally die if you're dumb. Story advances, but your agency never fully shuts off. King's Quest 6. Picture. The game is basically playable cutscenes, the adventure. Alexander eavesdropping behind doors. Yeah, roll court scenes where characters argue. You're free to move. Timing affects information gain. Nothing changes the plot, but it changes what you learn. Quest for Glory series. Town festivals and invasions. Villains entering and exiting scenes while you stand there. Magical events occurring on timers. You can watch, intervene, screw up. Quest for Glory 4. Shadows of Darkness. Um, Add Avis monologues while you can walk around the room. Dark creatures that play out in real time. Space Quest series. Villains split while you can walk, use items, accidentally die in new exciting ways. Space Quest 4 even has cutscenes where you play Roger watching cutscenes. Very meta. Very Sierra. Briefings play out while you control Sunny. NPCs move and talk. You can act prematurely and fail. Boy series, the Colonel's Bequest, the Dagger of Ammon Ra. I need to find those because those are some early deals. Dinner conversations, you walk around during murder occurs on timers. Miss something, too bad. This is the ancestor of modern environmental storytelling. Larry 1 through 6. Yes, even Larry behaves sometimes. Date scenes with time dialogue. You can interrupt the conversations. Plot contains whether you flirt or not. It's raunchy but structurally serious. Gabriel Knight, Sins of the Fathers. Police station scenes where conversations play out while you move. Ritual scenes you observe in real time. Or dialogue while exploring. What you're describing: villain POV, scripted outcomes, light or zero branching, optional interaction. Um, Chapter 6 beats directly Quest for Glory 4 style timing or design a villain cutscene you can walk around without changing fate. That's what I was thinking. Anyways, the idea is that you're actively observing the villain's actions. Okay. So, what I need to do then is to decide, let's figure out what each scene requires, and then find an interactive way to get to that scene. That scene requirement. What must be true before the next beat is allowed to occur? Reframe scenes as requirements, not branches. Each villain scene has a guaranteed outcome, the story beat, one or more preconditions, what must happen first, optional player involvement, how the count gets there. So instead of is this interactive or a cutscene, think of what does the count need to notice, cause, or allow before this happens. The outcome stays locked, the journey is where the play lives. Sierra style interaction loop, classic and proven. Here's an old school formula Sierra loved. Scene is in motion, player is present but powerless to change the outcome. Player must be in the right place at the right time, having seen or done the right thing. Scene triggers automatically, no dialogue trees. No do you follow her, just existence plus awareness. Apply this to chapter 6, example mapping. Let's take one of your beats and translate it. Red repeatedly leaves the room to fetch wine. She doesn't though. That's not one of my beats in there. But oh, that wasn't Red though. That was somebody else. But that's okay. Required truths before follower becomes valid. The count has noticed a pattern. The count has a reason to suspect. The count has a physical opportunity to follow. Interactive ways. And when it's doing things like that, it's like somebody that's having some sort of mental breakdown or whatever. This is like one of the signs of mental breakdown. So I'll have to start a new conversation soon. Interactive ways, set up empty bottles, wine labels, the cellar guide. Observe, she leaves empty handed, returns cause, spill wine, comment on taste, wait long enough. Once the Enough boxes are checked, auto trigger. She leaves again, counting things follows, no problem, no explanation. Just well, obviously, that's the Monkey Island shopkeeper moment done right. Observation is a verb, not a cutscene. Which you're building is not passive watching, is active surveillance. Cat isn't choosing fate, he's collecting evidence. That's why. Clicking things, reading notes, waiting. Okay. Scene triggers. Player has seen X, player has caused or noticed X, player is present when nearby when Z occurs. That's it. No branching needed. Author if you've seen fires. If not, player wanders, pokes and waits. Sierra, very Sierra. Already know more than player, already have goals, don't need moral justification. So the gameplay becomes convince yourself this is worth doing, not figure out the right dialogue choice. Perfect for max the count, anyone operating in the shadows. Bonus, the golden rule with a grin. If the player says, I didn't press a button, but I knew that what was happening, you did it right. If they say, I chose option 2 in the plot advance, you made a menu. You're building interactive inevitability, not branching fiction, and that's exactly how the classic pulled it off. Okay. So the question is, and now I have only about 30 minutes, just over 30 minutes, to do anything. Um, Maybe I should pull up Grok and ask Grok kind of the same question. Grok. Which Grok's been acting a little naughty lately. Oh, we've been overfilled, blah, blah, blah. We've been too busy. Upgrade to my pay version. Let me see my. I'll tell him. Now let's start a new conversation. Um, Open my notes. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. Um, let's paste that. So this is just a short recap about what I'm doing, and I'm trying to figure out where to put decision points in this next chapter. I'm starting today. Please acknowledge. I just wanted to go and say, okay, I got you. Got it, acknowledge. Dive in. Okay, so here's chapter 6's story. I had started and then restarted by combining several story beats into the chapter splits. So this is chapter 6. Now let's go to the thing here. Let's open the thing. Select copy. Um, Please acknowledge. Internal werewolf politics with rivalries. Create side deal with Violet. Werewolf skepticism. Test Max's power. Closing escalation. Mass gate opening. Presuming the big magical technological threat that's been foreshadowed. Then that classic. It wanted to continue. Meta ending. Okay, that's fine. The player feels that they're influencing how things unfold. Give Hubert or whatever the POE is. I'm assuming the player is experiencing through. Quick questions help me suggest precise decision point locations. Loose perspective. Every temporary shift in the max POV, Red's even omniscient third person for the chapter. What kind of agency feels right here? Um, so, um, after you can blah blah blah. Quick summary. This is a great chapter for introducing player agency. Max succeeding for now. Player sense. Okay. I'll prepare this response, I guess. Well, first let me ask, does this look like a page that you can put decision points in, i.e. make it interactive? Well, or should it be more like a cutscene? See what it says. We'll see what these guys say and get an idea. I guess I'll let it. Now, ChatGPT was suggesting cutscene because it was full of moments that have to happen, and it's not really affecting the story. Really, none of them is affecting the story. I have the story planned the way I wanted. I'm giving you agency. I'm giving you the ability to play these characters, right? Obviously, there are going to be puzzles later, but there might also be puzzles for the. Okay. Natural interaction breaks. There are 5 to 7 distinct beats with dialogue-heavy moments. Max Red pitch, Red Werewolf pitch, Kurt Violet deal, Werewolf debate, Max's demo. These are begging for player input on how the characters negotiate, persuade, or react, giving agency without derailing the linear outcome. Werewolves join, gates open. Agency without branching. Choices can flavor tone. Aggressive versus sly, build character rapport, hint at future rivalries, but reconverge. Perfect for phase one. The player feels like they're steering the intrigue. Pacing boost. A pure cutscene would feel like an info dump on werewolf politics and Max's power ramp up. Sprinkling 5 to 7 light choices. 2 to 4 options each turn into engaging choose your intrigue vignettes, keeping read time snappy. Yeah, that's really what I'm talking about. Not overkill any. If it were pure cutscene, that'd be something for ultra cinematic, like the gate opening spectacle, which would still have Michael Choice focus on the chaos, the tech, world's awe, but this whole chapter screams interactivity. Quick structure suggestion: 6 decision points. Break it into 6 vignettes. Each gets 1 decision point at peak tension. All reconverge to the fixed beats. Max recruits Red, pulls Red from hiding, pitches decision point. How does Red respond? Fine. Those mutts, they'll rip me apart. Consider it done, boss. Sets Red's loyalty vibe, pragmatic. Yeah, that's the one thing that I was thinking about at first. If you remember, I just said it, just like a half hour ago or whatever when I started here. I said that maybe I'll come back to it because you could possibly do the thing of where, for instance, a puzzle is how do I get her to 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 uh, to do what I want her to do. Now there might be a little bit of not needing to do it because she likes Max, and that's kind of the whole point of this. Both Violet and Red like him, and So she might would do it just for him, even though it could mean problems with her. Uh, Red pitches werewolves. Red tells Rottweiler's pack about curse left. How does Red sell it? Max can cure you. Join or stay furry forever. Freedom from the moon's curse. Imagine it. I know your pain. This is our shot. Uh, Influences Pack's initial skepticism. Level flavor text only. Kurt's defection. Kurt recalls rivalry. Relieves for Violet. What does Kurt prioritize in his pitch to Violet? Red's weak. Help me take her out. Make me alpha. I'll deliver the pack. And that is his motivation there. Our old grudge and her for good. Plants Violet's investment depth. Teases Phase 2 betrayal arc. Well, Phase 2, yeah. Phase 2 is the same game, so it's not really, that's alright though. Because it doesn't know, I didn't give it all the details. And this is a new conversation. Yeah, quick zap show on skeptics. Let red big targets werewolf debate. As debate heats, whose side do you narrowly emphasize? Rottweiler's caution, Kurt's ambition, Pack's desperation. Feels like influencing the vote via focus on Lex minor flavor line later. Gates activate. Train ride. Yeah, and I do this quite a bit, is where um this is the case of not doing every option because everything doesn't need to work at the same time or whatever. This is the one of just choosing one, and it affects the outcome. It doesn't affect the game ultimately, but it affects how you read the page basically. So I could set up the three choices on the debate, and you get to pick one, uh, just to see the reaction page. It's not even like a long term thing because I don't got any state saving in here. So gates activate. Final micro choice before 1-0. Focused view on rolling portals, spearing horrors, Maxis Mugger, distinct distant wolf files. Cinematic payoff. Ties back to recruitment. Build shred. Okay. Yeah. Use rich text label. And that's an interesting point. I could literally reintroduce an extra chapter where he's testing the machine for the first time so that you get to know the machine and get to know how it works and stuff. That actually requires me putting in some extra stuff that I haven't had before. I just had he activates the machine for the first time, you know. Um this is primarily Red's story. See, before I was thinking I would like to play the villain's side. It's still a linear story, but it's like every character in this game, they all have their own motivations. Um, so you're essentially just playing it out. And yes, it will have puzzles in later phases, but um, um, it's still more than just a story, even if it is nothing more than an interactive story at this point. ChatGPT was saying that it seems primarily um, story based, like these things have to happen. And so it's more like an info dump than a place to naturally have interaction. Although we did go through some old games that allows you to play the what is ostensibly the cut scene. I guess I don't really have one POV character, but I do have several that drive the story forward. Even more now that you've clarified it's primarily read story in this section, player getting to play the villain side in a linear but character motivated way. Your setup, moving there, each with their own no single fixed hero POV is a classic strength for interactive fiction. Choice-based adventures lets you give the player agency by letting them inhabit and shape how these are flawed, scheming characters pursue their goals without breaking the overall linear spine. The world still joined, the gates still open. This is exactly how the acclaimed villain games handle villain or anti-hero perspectives in mostly linear stories. Games like The Wolf Among Us let you play as Big B Wolf, a morally gray enforcer, making brutal or diplomatic choices during tense interrogations and fights, even though the core plot advances regardless. Life is Strange and similar episodic titles often put you in moments where characters make selfish, manipulative, or destructive decisions that feel villainous in context, but the story converges on key events while flavoring the relationships and tone. The older point and click, some LucasArts style, even horror tinged ones like I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream frequently force players into ethically dark actions during cutscene like sequences with choices affecting character expression, immediate flavor, or future callbacks. Multi POV linear games, Detroit Become Human with its android protagonist, 428 Shibuya Scramble, switch perspectives and let choices influence how each character advances the shared plot, even if the big beats stay fixed. Since this Phase 1 interactive narrative light agency, you can treat it as playable cutscenes, narrative vignettes, where the player controls dialogue style approach or emphasis for Red, Max, and Kurt, etc., making the villainy feel personal and active. Choices can color character motivations, build tension or foreshadow betrayals, give the player that villain's side throw without derailing events. Recommended approach: keep it vignette based, with each one focused decision point at the emotional peak. That's kind of what I was. Well, that's kind of what I've started doing. Um, all paths reconverge quickly, but track light state for a later flavor check. Okay, so okay, so this is the thing that I haven't told it. I need to tell it. Um, Max pulls Red from hiding, pitches werewolf job decision. How does Red? Yeah, I can do that. Red arrives at werewolf village and pitches Red decision. How aggressively does Red sell the curseless promised? Kurt defects and meets Violet decision. What angle does Kurt take in this view? Ruthless vision. Personal vendetta. She ruined everything once. Let me enter. Calculated trade. Power for power. You back me. I deliver the werewolves. Loyal to you. Deepens the betrayal plot. Werewolves demand proof. Red fetches Max. Curse demo decision. How does Max or Red, if delegated, perform the curse lift demo? Brutal show of force targets. Most skeptical makes it dramatic and painful. Then relieved. Efficient and cold. Quick clinical zaps on volunteer see done. Let's choose targets. Werewolves throw Red in hut. Debate. Kurt returns a decision. Um, okay, before we decide that there's a little issue with the last story beat, which is I added that in there because it's just when he comes from the wolf pack village, the wolf village. After having demonstrated and gotten support to join his armies. But in reality, starting the machine can be its own chapter. Actually, the way I've been writing these, the last beat is just the end cap. So there, so if I leave it in there, let's see, it might not need interactivity. Although, like I said, if I put it into its own chapter, then probably would add some for him testing the machine. Okay, let's see what else it says. I'll try to make sure that I actually do some actual physical, making decision point areas in part 2. So it looks like this is going to take up most of part 1 here. Just trying to decide what I'm going to do in this chapter. Splitting the machine activation in its own chapter makes perfect sense for pacing and escalation. It lets chapter 6 end on a strong, satisfying high note. The Royals' reluctant alliance secured red success. Max sitting back, triumphant, without rushing into the big tech magic reveal. That way, the gate opening becomes a dedicated payoff moment. Revise chapter 6 anyway. Drop the machine activation from chapter 6. The end chapter, right in the chapter right after the return. A quick transitional beat. Brief narration, train pulling away, classic hit 1 to continue prompt. Yeah. Creates a cliffhanger. That actually might be a better way to do that anyways. While this improves the chapter, avoids the info dump fill. Better pacing for phase 1. Sets up chapter 7 perfectly. Quick updated structure for chapter 6. 6 of 5 decision points trimmed. Red's negotiation. Red sells the curse. Kurt's angle when pitching violent. The style of Max's curse lift demo. Yeah, and it's important. There's the difference. The difference between Kurt leaving and then coming back is that he leaves and comes back, and it still concerns the pack. The machine is the overall story, so it probably doesn't need to even be in this chapter. All reconverge. Pack joins begrudgingly. Red is released. They head back to depot train. End of chapter. I'll have to check the other chapters to see where I want to place this. I might not place it directly after chapter 6. It depends on how I have the rest structured. Might need a might need a breather between by taking one of the hero chapters and moving it up. So I'll have to check that first. Okay. Okay, the current chapter outline looks like roughly 19. Here are a few common patterns that work well. Meet, follow up, keeps feeling momentum high, ends on a massive. I like this. Yeah, Grok is cussing. Now I didn't ask you to cuss, and it's not. Does it? That's hilarious. Ends on a massive cliffhanger. Yeah. Might feel breathless if the previous chapters were also heavy on Max, Red, Kurt. One breather in between. Classic alternated POV. Yeah, two more chapters buffer. You check your outline, look at the emotional arc, check for natural hooks, consider chapter length. Okay, so let me go back to this. Let's see what chapter 7 is first. Zanzibar the Great. Okay. Uh Zanzibar the Great. What's the great the Princess's Great Escape? Princess's Great Escape is what chapter is that? Chapter 8. It's kind of hard to reorder chapters, especially if they rely on an order. So I still have to think about this for a moment. I might have to move it back. When I do that, the Princess's Escape, Chapter 5 dealt with the princess and the count. Chapter 6 deals with Red and the werewolves. Let's see what Chapter 8 says, The Great Escape here. Because does it need to be after anything? Or can it be before? Because it was probably before. They find the secret passage to the wine cellar. They walk up the side doors. The Black Knight. Okay. So let's check out Chapter 7, which is Zanzibar's story. And does it need to be in a particular order? I mean, it can be in the same order here as the villains, but can I move chapter 8 to chapter 7? 7 can go back up to 8. But then they'll be next to each other, so it's kind of annoying. Featrix, Max leaves the last show Zanzibar put on. The road discovers his money gone. Okay. Um, then 9 switch backs to Zanzibar. Chapter 10 Hmm. It's quite a bit of reshuffling to do that. Hmm. Okay, let me give you a brief outline. It's not quite as simple as that. 6 was Red and the Wolf Pack. 7 is the introduction of Zanzibar the Great. He was also a minor villain. He's a con artist and magician. Uh, that uses his act to steal from patrons. Um, and he's evading police from our realm, no less, and manages to duck into some traveling lizards heading back to Enchanted lands. Enchanted lands after a convention in Las Vegas. He ends up working for Max for a time. Chapter 8 is the rescue of the princess. Then Zanzibar's story concludes. That's really funny. I only have a couple of chapters with him in it, even though I had him in multiple pages. But honestly, he's only in a few chapters now. Yeah. Hmm. This is one of those things where you're kind of going, should I remove the character? The thing is again, I had to turn one of my good guy characters bad to a villain in order to balance out the kind of the power here. If I remove him, then there's even less. Chapter 9. And that's funny, I didn't really realize that's the way it was set up here. So, Zanzibar's last show. Um, uh, Chapter 10 is what happens after the rescue of the princess, where they're chased into Lap's Wood, encounter Sir William for the first time, and then uh, start forgetting everything. Okay, and it looks like my time is up for today. Right. Of course it's under heavy usage right now. Sure it is. Sure it is. I think it's baloney. I think it's fake. Can you tell me what this cover station is about? Do the same thing? Oh, that's right. Um, so currently, chapter 6 concerns red, which you already saw. Chapter 7 introduces Zanzibar, a con artist that manages to get into Enchanted lands while escaping police in our world. Chapter 7, Chapter 8 is the rescue of the princess, and Chapter 9 concludes Zanzibar's story. Much clearer picture of the chapter flow. Uh, let's see. Trail seeds. Perfect natural breather after heavy world politics. An artist evading the law. Hmm. Um, I'm still debating adding the machine first machine activation and testing into its own chapter. You don't know about the Omni Gate machine, except when the princess manages to swipe the blueprints. So I don't know if that's enough setup for when Max first activates it. I mean, I suppose. Hmm. Setup and foreshadowing. understands the player's machine, then uh, hmm. Okay, time is up for now. I need to break for about an hour. I'll be back then. Okay, well, I guess that does it for chapter 2. Thanks for, well, actually, let's do this. Thank you for watching part 1, and I will see you in an hour for part 2.